Hey, my name is Ash and welcome to my channel. The purpose of this video is to share the hardware and software involved in my daily workflow as a student and as a developer. I'll also be showing some alternatives since I understand that some people may not agree with my choices due to price or pre-existing preference. Let's start off with one of the most integral pieces of tech that I use on a daily basis, my AirPods Pro Max. These are an amazing pair of headphones. They're also very expensive. Original retail was $550 on the pair I have, but now it's gone down to $370, and that is because a new variant with the USB-C charging port has come out. Now that is currently $500 as opposed to the $370 that the Lightning variant now is. Both of them are basically very similar. The charging port is the main difference. Both have very easy pairing, amazing noise cancellation, a great transparency mode, and honestly, they're just a very solid, sturdy pair of headphones. The cons are that it's still expensive compared to the alternatives. The alternatives I would suggest for this headset are the AirPods Pro and the Beats Studio Buds. Bose Quiet Comfort 45s are also a great over-the-ear headset. And the AirPods 4 have active noise canceling now, so they're also an important choice to consider. Next up, let's talk about the keyboard I use. I've been trying different keyboards since high school, and they really are a passion for me. That aside, I'm currently using the ZSA Voyager, which is from a company called ZSA. They're a really small outfit, and they have like 4 people on their staff, amazing customer service, and really care about their customer base. I'll go into detail a little later when we also go to the software side about Oryx, which is the configurator for your keyboard. It's completely web hosted, so you can do it on any device, and the settings you choose are stored on your hardware, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, the switches I use are Kali Red Pro chalk switches, which are a rather muted sound. I know someone with the white switches, and they're pretty clicky, and they're still suitable for office use, but they're just a little too loud for me to hear every day. Another feature I love about the ZSA Voyager is the tenting. Now, the ZSA Voyager doesn't use adjustable legs or anything, but rather magnets that you stick onto the bottom of the keyboard. Now, they're super sturdy and they provide an amazing experience. If you are using the tenting, however, I do recommend you get a wrist rest. I personally went with these wrist rests from Glorious, and they're amazing. They're like $5.99 each on Amazon, and they do the job very well. Memory foam keeps my wrists nice and comfortable, which is a big part of the reason you would go with an ergonomic keyboard like this. A safe alternative for the ZSA Voyager would be the Keychron K2. Now, at $60, it's a lot cheaper, but with that price, you do have some differences compared to the ZSA Voyager. This comes with Gatortron G Pro switches, and currently it's available on Amazon with brown and white. It's USB-C for charging, it's wireless, it's a great keyboard. I use it for gaming most every day now. It's really great. I wouldn't pass up on this price because I personally bought it at $70, and I'm seeing it on Amazon currently for $60, so that's a pretty good deal. You don't get integrated software like you do with the ZSA Voyager, but for the price, it's a great sounding keyboard. The next device we're going to talk about is arguably the most important. I definitely use it the most out of any piece of technology I own, and that is my phone. I use an iPhone 15 base model with a base model of storage. If you were to buy it right now, it would cost you around $699 US, and it increases exponentially as you add more storage. I know that 512 gigabytes is $999, and the 256 gigabyte option is $799. So it gets up there with price, but I've been using this for a year, and I've loved the experience of it. Downsides, of course, it's a base model, so it only has 60 hertz. I don't really game on my phone, so it doesn't bother me. It's more than enough for any YouTube video I'm watching, so I'm completely content with that. This phone is amazing. I've had it for a year now, and I feel I'm qualified to talk about it. It's a great phone, never let me down. Great battery life, lasts all throughout the day, even now with extensive usage. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to include this device since I don't use it as much anymore now that I've switched to taking notes on my laptop, but our next device is the 11-inch second generation iPad Pro. It comes in 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte configurations. I personally use the 1 terabyte, and that has been more than enough for me in the 3 to 4 years that I've had this iPad. Now, this iPad came out in 2020. It has the A12Z Bionic chip, a neural engine for advanced machine learning, a 4-speaker audio setup, and USB-C. It's also compatible with the Apple Pencil Gen 2. Now, I believe this was one of the first iPads to get Face ID, and it works great, very fast, and even if you hold it horizontal, vertical, it doesn't matter. It'll still pick up your face. This is the 11-inch, so that means it has the 11-inch Liquid Retina display. It also has ProMotion, which is 120 Hz, P3 wide color, and True Tone, with a brightness of 600 nits. I think this is a great iPad for the price, especially since renewed, you can get it for around 450 to the 600 mark, depending on which storage configuration you go with. If you want it brand new, it'll run you in the 600 to 700 mark, but I think that's still great for such a versatile device that you can use for anything. Now let's talk about the most resilient and honestly reliable part of my setup, the 2017 MacBook Pro with the Touch Bar. Now, for an 8-year-old device, it still looks great and performs amazing, and I'll show you later on why I chose to go with this MacBook instead of maybe an M1 or an M2. Now, the display is a 15.4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 2880 by 1800. It does support wide color and True Tone technology. Now, for the form factor, it's a lightweight and super thin laptop. It's 4 pounds for the 15-inch. And moving on to the custom controls, there's a dynamic touch bar, which was new for MacBook Pros. This was the first time it had it. And it's really helpful. I mean, I don't use it that much unless I'm editing, but it's still helpful for precise editing. It also has Touch ID, which is nice because it makes Apple Pay a lot less of a headache. You don't really have to do anything. Now for performance, it has a configurable 7th gen Intel Core i7, so it has pretty solid performance for casual users and professionals. It has up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and storage options range from 256 gigabytes to 2 terabytes. So the 15-inch for graphics, you can configure it with the AMD Radeon Pro 555, which is what I have, or you can use 560 discrete GPUs. It has about 10 hours of web browsing or video playback as for battery life. However, I have had to replace my battery because there was a time where it just shut off and would not turn back on. So I replaced the battery, and that was around 2 years ago, and it works great. One thing I wish this laptop did have is USB ports, because it only has USB-C ports. It has a semi-decent camera, 720p FaceTime HD. You'll look fine from Zoom meetings. It has a large force trackpad for precise controls, and the 2nd-gen butterfly mechanism. With butterfly meaning that it is Apple's in-house switch. They created this switch 1 generation before this, and it's pretty great. It has a very unique sound. You won't hear that butterfly switch sound for any other laptop or PC. Now, you might be wondering, why would you choose this 2017 MacBook Pro over something newer like an M1, M2, or M3? While that is a solid point, when I was entering college, none of my school apps had any compatibility with the M1, M2, or M3. Basically, any Apple Silicon chip, you couldn't use it. Intel chips were just a lot better. So I decided to go with the 7th generation Intel chip, and it has done me pretty well. I'm very happy with the amount of use I've got out of this, especially for an 8-year-old computer that I use in my setup every day. 10 out of 10. It's made me very happy. The first piece of software we're going to discuss today is WesTerm. Now, WesTerm is an amazing terminal emulator that supports GPU acceleration. This means it leverages GPU rendering for fast and smooth text rendering. It also supports high-resolution displays and modern font rendering. Cross-platform support, meaning it has versions for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's able to multiplex like Tmux. Easy configuration, it's configured with a .westerm.lua file. I will show mine so you have something to build off of. It has a really feature-rich UI. I'm a big fan of it. It has tabs, split panes, and draggable interfaces. It has support for external fonts and ligatures. I personally use JetBrains Mono, and I'll provide a link down below so you can get it too if you like the way this looks. It has a super active community, meaning so many people have probably had any error that you have, and they have a solution. So you can go to their Discord or their Reddit and find a solution. Westerm also has a myriad of themes, and you can customize as many as you like. Just include it in your westerm.lua file, which I will show now. As you can see, I've customized some settings here. I haven't gone super in-depth into themes and whatnot, but I do have colors set for the tab bar, the background, active tab, etc. I also have some just ease of use configuration settings there below. Set for my tab bar, Windows customization, etc. I'll have this linked below so you can download it if you'd like to, and you can just build off of there. And I highly recommend using the Westerm website, which I'll also link down below, because it's great for any questions you might have. It's probably on there. The next piece of software we're going to be discussing is Ulysses. Ulysses is a paid writing software. You can either go with the $5.99 per month or go with $39.99 per year. So one of the reasons I really like Ulysses is that it's amazing for Markdown users. I write all my notes in Markdown, and sometimes I write papers in Markdown. Ulysses makes it really easy to do that because whatever way you choose to write, either by using Markdown or not, when you export it, it's still going to look great. It works with Grammarly, which is their match made in heaven, because while Ulysses does have some features to help you revise, it doesn't really have anything that gives you suggestions for what you could do instead, which is where Grammarly comes in, and it's spectacular at what it does. It works really well with Ulysses. But if you want to just use Ulysses and you don't want to get Grammarly, you can use the advanced check option in Ulysses. So if you go to the top and you click this little check mark, that's the revision panel, and it shows you where there are some, errors that you could fix, but it doesn't give you that level of auto suggestion that Grammarly does. Next up, we have Oryx. So Oryx is what ZSA ships out with their keyboards, so you can customize your setup. So as you can see, I have my colors set here. To view what color you have, you just tap the key and it says this key glows. I'm using Incision Red, so that's what that is. Software is stored on board your device. This means if I unplug my keyboard right now and go to a different laptop and plug it in, it will still do the exact same things. Now, I have noticed that if I plug it into a Windows device with my setup that is configured mainly for Mac, some of the keys do change to fit Windows better, and I appreciate that. So getting right into it, let's take a look at this. This is the F key, and when you tap it, it just outputs the F character. But when you hold it, it performs this action called play. Now what play does is if I am coding and I want to pause YouTube in a different browser, I can just press and hold F and it'll pause it, which is pretty helpful. And if I press and hold F again, it'll unpause it. So whatever it says on the bottom here, that is the hold function. And at the top, that's just the tap. So if you look at G, it doesn't have a hold function, so it's just, if you tap it, it's G. Moving on to layers, this is what ZSA gives you to really get the most out of your keyboard experience. So we see I have my arrow keys set up on this layer. I have previous tab, next tab. So what that does is I can navigate through tabs without having to click through. Page up, page down eliminates the need for scrolling. Command tab, that's for my window manager. And this is for Spotlight. So if I press this key, it'll open up Spotlight and it'll just allow me to look up any app or just search in general. This is the reset key, which is used whenever you're flashing new layouts onto your keyboard. Finally, before we change up our setup a little bit, let's look at the macros. So what this does is it sends out a sequence of key presses. What this specific macro does is for markdown files, whenever you try to embolden something, it's 2 asterisks. So for that, instead of me having to manually type 2 asterisks, this sends out 2 asterisks at the same time, which is pretty helpful. It saves time in general, and overall, it's a really nice thing. You can customize macros to do about anything. Now to change this, we'll change this to blue. We'll press compile layout, and we wait. It does take a second, but it's not that bad. Okay, it's done. Save to keyboard. Now I just use my normal reset key, which is right there on your keyboard. So it says Voyager bootloader paired, connect, and now it is flashing our latest update to the Voyager. And once this is done, you don't have to do anything else. You'll just see the differences reflect on your keyboard. So we'll wait till this is done. Success. It does reboot, and all the LED lights on your Voyager will do a little sequence. It's nice. Now we can go to My Layouts, and you can see all the layouts you've made. I've only made one layout really, and this is it. Since I've gotten this keyboard, this is the layout I've used, and it's been pretty great, honestly. I like that I can revert to any setup that I had before, so if I do mess something up, I can easily go and fix it. Yeah, that's about it for the ZSA Voyager's software, which is Oryx. Oryx is amazing. There is something called Keymap that you can download to your desktop, but it's a little glitchy, and I've realized that it just redirects to the Voyager website or the Oryx website anyways, so it's not that necessary. I just use Oryx because I don't have to download anything. It's in my browser and it's simple. So now we've arrived at the end of this video. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope it helped you guys understand what really creates my workflow, and yeah, I hope it gave you some ideas for your own workflows. It's important to keep in mind that all I can do is show you the pros and the cons of what I use, and it's up to you to figure out if you want to use that and what parts you can maybe refine and make better. Thanks for watching AN Tech, and be sure to subscribe for future uploads.